Troop was in the comments. Steve is now watching the Celtics. Maybe Franco's watching the Rangers. I believe it's still 0-0. Steve, it is Monday, May 1st. What do we have in store for our fine viewers, listeners? We're going to talk about the shit show. That was Milan Roma. We're going to talk a bit about Serie A, what went on this weekend, the week that's going to come up, some special guests that came and visit us from Italy. And in the end, Steve, are we ready?
Let's go.
Let's go, people. Hang on to your toques. Well, it is kind of cold over here, so let's go, people.
Welcome to the Milan Weekly Podcast, the English voice of Milan fans all over the world, with your hosts, Vinny T and Stevie P.
Benvenuti nella casa
Giro in area, si gira, sinistro, rete, gol capolavoro di Olivier Giroud.
Mignon with another magical save.
Mamma mia, Teo Hernandez, coast to coast, del numero 19.
Leao carica il mancino. Eccolo qua, Rafa Leao.
Il Milan è campione d'Italia.
Cari amici sportivi, welcome yet to another edition of the Milan Weekly Podcast. Here where we talk everything Milan, a horror show Milan, and could have been worse Milan. That's where you get your Stevie P and Vinny T chemistry right there. Guys, it was not the weekend that we expected, but hey, it is what it is. But before we get into the whole game, I wanted to start talking about Stevie P. First of all, how are you? It is Monday night, May 1st. Are you watching some sort of playoffs? The world was upside down. Maple Leafs pass. Who else did the Boston? Boston lost. Best team in the NHL. But how's your week?
It's okay.
Stevie's a man of few words, but talking about friendship, I just wanted to start off. Welcome to Carlo, brand new member to the Milan Weekly Podcast Patreon. Steve, our first Scottish man, Italian from Scotland, love it. And to some of you guys that not part of the Patreon family, please check your inboxes. I sent you a personal email saying thank you, even though it came from my email. It is from me and Steve. But Steve, there's one person that I did not send a thank you, and that was Francis the Snake, our beloved friend, your beloved friend more than mine. So I sent him a text this morning. I said, saw you pulled an Inter and removed your Patreon sponsorship like digital bits. Thank you for all your patronage, kind sir. Beers on me and for the first Champions League. His answer, Steve. I am in derby mode. I support nothing Milan for the next month. I just can't take this Milan team anymore. I will be back on depending on the result of the semis. Depending. I'm glad you noticed so you can mention it on the podcast. So he's a heel. Francis is a heel. He just wanted to mention that he's in derby. He's supporting. But what do you think Francis would say that he can't take this Milan team anymore?
He hates them. He hates the way they play. And I love it.
Have you spoken to Francis?
Not yet.
Not yet. Thanks to the guys on the comments. Best pod on YouTube. Thank you, Justin. We even had Steve there at the beginning that watching from Wales whenever he can live. So yes, he is a total mark. Speaking of friends, would it be on Patreon? But even some special friends that came and visit us from Italy. Milanistas, we brought him over to Chicharo's. Steve, we brought him over to a soccer field to see how I still got it, Steve. I think you saw those crosses that you told me at one point that I had a Kazusuke Honda kind of cross in to your.
Yeah, you should not be anywhere near a soccer field.
I wasn't very good, but brought him to bring some smoked meat sandwiches in Montreal. But Steve, I wanted to ask you today. Our friend Eduardo and Sofia, they met Presidente. It's a very rare thing for people to actually meet Presidente. But how did it go today? Did he pay for the coffees? How did it go?
Everything went very well.
Everything went very well, and the Presidente always there helping us out, always behind the scenes and, communicating with these people. So to Eduardo and Sofia, safe travels, and we will see each other very soon. On that note, Steve, we need to talk about this game, unless you wanted to talk about something before we get into this game. Anything you want to mention?
Let's go.
Guys, it is what it is. We started off being positive. We got this. It's Roma. And Steve, I even said to you during the game, I miss watching games with you because you always bring back the reality because I'm always that hopeless romantic. And I, I just felt the grinta that we've seen in those couple of games. And, people want to complain Roma, the parking the bus. I think we mentioned so many times, like, look how many guys are back. But I don't know, something was missing. And I'm looking at the starting lineup. Everybody was bad, Steve. Everybody was bad. Can you pick even one player that Theo was bad? Krunic was bad. Diaz was invisible. Benacer was, he did well the first time he played behind strike, but this time no good. Maybe Kier, Tomori, we had thought he got injured, but I don't know. What? Tell me how you felt watching this game together.
Yeah, so it was an interesting game. We saw that Roma did park the bus and they wanted to play their anti-soccer, anti-football, whatever you want to call it. And that was their game plan. But they were riddled with injuries. I have to give them that much. They had no defenders. I think they were playing Cristante back there, which says a lot about how Milan could not break them down. And this is something that we've seen all season, where Milan, when they need to break down one of these low blocks, has a lot of trouble generating chances. For me, it's not even the effort. Those are hard games. They're ugly games. They're not fun to watch games.
Scrappy play, a lot of scrappy play, right?
Yeah.
And
The concerning part was not being able to generate chances. Like, we had no shots on net till I think Salchicha Maker scores. That's the more concerning part. We did have a lot of the ball, but we just didn't do a lot with the ball. Roma didn't really do much either till Tammy Abraham scores. So you see this is not the football that everybody wants to watch, and everybody is first and very easily critical of Milan and the way we play when we're kicking the ball up and we're trying to find Giroud and we're trying to advance the ball that way. Now it's time to be critical of Roma. Roma did absolutely nothing. They did not want to win this game.
long ball all the time, Steve. They were
Yeah.
parked like 9 guys back and Tammy Abraham up front. And it's just like, it just seemed like that at one point they started opening up play a little bit where you saw a couple of those counterattacks, but that was it. It was just going back. And how many times, like I was mentioning before, when Milan was attacking, if you want to call it attacking, and there were 10 guys back. And Teo wasn't on par. Leao had some sort of moments okay, but everybody else just didn't step up. Like, we like this love-hate relationship with Krunic, but this was a bad game for him. I haven't remember seeing him play this bad.
There's no one else. So whatever, again, whatever you want to say about the starting lineup, it's our best starting lineup. So you can't. There's no person that you could replace here that says deserves to play more minutes than the guys that you see there. Maybe Kajar and Kajar, and we replace him with someone else. We rotate the center backs. Yes, maybe the right back. Not Calabria, Kalulu. Those small changes, yes. But besides that, everybody else, this is the best starting lineup that Milan could field. There's and it's obvious we're starting to play Diaz, right wing. So someone heard us the 1 million times saying that we need a right wing because we're trying something a little bit different. And again, the subs come on, the intensity lowers, the concentration lowers dramatically, and we get scored on. And that's something that we're not going to come back from all the time, especially in the 90-something minute when we get our equalizer. So they need to find winning ways, more convincing ways, and everybody, if they're not on their top game, we struggle.
We definitely struggle, and we keep on talking about the CDKs and pick up the Origis, and it's kind of frustrating when you see these players come on that this is your bench, right? And we were comparing, would it be the Napolis, the Inters of the Serie A, who they're bringing on from the bench, whether the team is performing or not. Look at the quality that they're bringing on, and then you have a guy like Salamakers scoring in the 97th minute, and okay, it is what it is, and kind of a little bit of karma from the first game that we played, that we dominated for 87 minutes. We made some changes and everything went down. If you had to pick one top of the match, Steve, would it be hard for you to decide? Is there even a top?
It's
I'm Kajar?
No, Leao.
Leao?
Everybody else was just unexistent or not really up to par today. And again, this is something that Milan has struggled with, and I'm fed up of talking about CDK or Rigi and whoever else they want to bring on, because this again is something that we had to address in the mercato or winter or in the summer. We gambled with Origi. We took CDK, which I'm willing to give him some time, as we repeated multiple times. But at a certain point, buddy, it's time that you wake up. It's time that you start putting a little bit of grinta on your face when you come and take that pitch.
He took
Even
the foul,
a tackle,
right,
Vinny. Even some kind of tackle, some kind of frustration. Honestly, at that point of time, I'd rather see him take a harsh yellow, or even, you know what, if
some
if
emotions
the game
out,
permits it and it doesn't put us in a bad spot, some anger, something.
He took the foul.
He's really
on
strange.
on the goal, right, Steve? And foul, whatever. It wasn't really a foul, but it just seems that even though some of us keep on believing in this kid, but we're not seeing anything. Like you said, you don't see no. I think there was maybe one game, Steve. I think you mentioned that I saw some sort of fire in him, but guys, it's 32 games in. We can't be saying that we saw that one game. But I'm with you on this one. Is that our history of not giving chances to players has been worse than actually good. So that's why I would say, before you give up on the kid, give him another year and go from there, especially in the investment that we made. It is what it is. And who will be the biggest flop for you out of the starting lineup? The one that really disappointed you the most?
I think it's the Milan mentality together. I'm not gonna pick one person. I'm gonna pick everybody. They needed to understand how important this game was. At a certain point, I understand you want to protect maybe the away draw at 0-0. But at a certain point, I think the Milan our mentality is to go get the game and go try to get 3 points. And I don't think we showed that. I think we wanted to close, and we were happy with the 0-0 tie. And that bit us in the ass, because they came down the park, and Tammy Abraham, I think the commentator said it best. That was the best touched ball that he had all game. He did absolutely nothing other than that. I think Roma didn't do much to win the game, and neither did Milan. So 1-1, 0-0 would have been a fair result. But I think for both teams, this tie doesn't really do much, except for, I think, some sort of calculation with Roma so far, because they still have to face Inter, where they actually sit in fourth spot.
You're looking at these games. You got Cremonese for us on Wednesday. You got Lazio on Saturday. When we're joking around that out of 24 points, we probably need 24 points. Look at how everybody's, at the same amount of points. You have Juve themselves, playing Lecce and Atalanta, Inter going Verona and Roma. Roma still has Inter. It's just, I think, you want to talk about the last 6 games. 18 points is a must, Steve. I'm not trying to be, full of myself or full of Milan.
We're not going to get 18 points. And
That's
neither is any of the other teams. Juve was terrible yesterday. Lazio was terrible.
Which we're going to get into, yeah.
So
it's just
there's no point. We say this every week. We need 18 points. We need 18 points. We need 18 points.
No, I think the problem is that exactly what you're saying. We need 18 points, but we know we're not going to get those 18 points. So it's like
neither are the other teams, to be quite frank. They're not playing this high level football that no one could. Even Napoli's choking. So we'll talk about it after. But even Napoli, this
The
great,
Napoli tears,
fantastic,
Steve.
fantastic soccer that they've been playing, blah 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 blah, and they drop points to Salernitana, right? So this is not something that we can look into a crystal ball and see what the match results are going to be. It's 1 week at a time, guys. It's the exact same thing that we always say every week, week in and week out. 1 week at a time, one game at a time, and you could take it from there. And oh, by the way, there's 2 Champions League matches that you're gonna have to navigate to against Inter. Merry Christmas.
And on that note, Steve, the people like the trumpets. Away to Serie A we go. Do you have the trumpets ready for us, Steve? You hear them, Liban? That's for you. Oh, here we go. This segment is brought to you by Fubo TV, the home of the Serie A here in Canada. And quite a weekend it was for Serie A, Steve. Starting off with, Lecce beating Udinese. And I don't know, Steve, Udinese, sometimes they come out like so strong. It seems that sometimes we like to play around with Lazio, that we like, jokingly like to call them Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, whatever this. We never know what kind of Lazio you get. But, Udinese, I don't get, like, you get losing against Lecce. I don't know if you were able to catch most of this game or not.
Udinese only plays good against Milan. Next.
Got you. Thank you. Monza, again, putting up 3 points, definitely in Serie A next year, beating Spezia. Berlusconi and friends getting it done once again. Atalanta, Torino, no, not strong enough on this game. Atalanta getting those very valuable 3 points because, as we're going to see in the next slide, if Juventus was going to lose that game. But Atalanta, Steve, did they have a fighting chance getting in?
Found another striker. Duvan Zapata has arrived. 30-something weeks into the season, he has finally arrived for Atalanta. Now this changes a little bit of things for Atalanta.
So we'll see where they end up in that final race, but they're definitely in there. Lazio being Lazio. Steve, 1-0 to Lazio. Inter decided to wake up at the right time for them. And you know what? They deserved it because Lazio, I don't know what it is. They scored. I watched this game. Yes, there was that mistake at the end. It sounded like it made a big difference, 3-1. But it seemed that Lazio had everything under control. But what do you think happened here? And Steve, let's be honest. How many games can Inter lose at home in a row? This was, if they were going to lose this, I believe there's going to be a 4th in a row. But the right team won on this one.
Yeah, Inter fully deserved the win here. They really played and dominated Lazio. Lazio is going to cry about the start time. So I think that was Sarri's latest excuse about starting too early. And this is probably why Lazio lost 3-1.
This is the reason. So Inter, with those 3 points, as we're going to see in the standings, right there in the thick of it. Cremonese Verona in a 1-1 draw on this one here. We're going to take a look very soon at the fight for relegation. Sorry, Steve. I didn't win the Scudetto this week. I don't understand. Sorry, guys. I just needed to do that because I don't understand how some people are crying that you did not win this week, where the Serie A is in your pockets. The celebration was a week late, Steve. Napoli, Salernitana just coming in to ruin the festivities.
Good on Salernitana there for protecting at least a little bit of their pride and not making Napoli win their Scudetto on their home turf. Napoli on to Udinese next week, and let's see if they can finally get this done so that we can stop listening to these Napolitan cheering for a Scudetto that they knew they were going to win. So let's go.
And to our friend Marco and Rafa, sorry that I congratulated you before the fact, but I am a mush, so another week you're going to have to wait. Sassuolo back on the winning ways, 2-1 over Empoli, 3 points there. And Sassuolo, Steve, and them up and down this season. They never came with that streak. Maybe the last couple of years we would see them on hot streak, those 5-6 games in a row. And this year it just seems up and down for Sassuolo.
Up and down, but they're going to end up where they always end up, in the same 7 to 10 spot there. So Berardi coming in, he scores 2 goals. Left him on my bench in my Fantacalcio. So you're welcome, Sassuolo fans.
Sampdoria, it's time to go to Serie B. Sampdoria. I'm sorry, I'm not saying this with hate, but you're getting beat 5-0 by Fiorentina. Watched a bit of the highlights on this one, Steve, but I think it's just time. It's 2 years we've been saying it, and you got no business losing 5-0 to Fiorentina. And I'm not taking anything away from Fiorentina, but it's Fiorentina, guys, and they haven't had the best of the season themselves. But 5-0, oof.
5 spot to Fiorentina. It's just Sampdoria doesn't seem to have any more answers. It seems like Stankovic has lost the group. I think it's a bit also La Società. Sampdoria needs to find its way. Maybe a spell in B will help them reorganize this project and get some good stability so that they can come back to Serie A, because always nice to have Sampdoria in Serie A, but
just like
not
Genoa,
with
right?
these results.
Genoa's, I think, is in second place for Serie B. So, hey, if it helps, why not? For the good of Serie A. Watch this game, Steve. Bologna-Juventus. And as I'm watching this game, I don't know if I felt the players of Bologna, especially. It's like, oh, you want to get your 15 points. But I don't know. I saw this hunger in Bologna. And the only thing they didn't do this game, Steve, is win this game. And my indigestion is, what was he trying? Was he hopping like a ballerina on that penalty shot? What was his name? The one that took the penalty for you, Milik. What was that? He just jumped up in the air and
tried to channel his inner Jorginho. But Bologna was good for parts of the game. Juve showed that they really wanted to get back into the game. Indigestion for me of the week is VAR does not work again on the penalty shot that they called for Bologna, and that they leave no trust in the refs anymore and call it a penalty shot. Then we have the PK called, the one that you so gracefully mentioned, the ballerina Milik penalty shot, where, guys, how it did not go to VAR is beyond me. But that, again, it's a Serie A and the issues that they're having with the technology. It could happen once that VAR doesn't work. It seems like it's becoming a weekly occurrence that, and at least one of the games, VAR is not working.
But my question was, Steve, is that you play soccer obviously much more than me. I get the stop and go where you're trying to distract the goalie. But what was the point of that hop? Like, what are you distracting the goalie from? You're not even close to the ball. Maybe
this is the generation that we're in, Vinny. This is it's no more good old-fashioned PK. This has to be for the camera, for the show, for the distraction. And again, not something that I never liked, and probably will never like. These PKs need to be hit like they're supposed to, not imaginary video game PKs.
Looking at the points, Verona Spezia, right, at 27. Lecce still there. I know they came up with the win, Steve. A bit of breathing room, but this is gonna go until the end, is it not?
Yeah, obviously they're tied at 27 points.
But even with Lecce is not 100%, making it, even
the relegation battle traditionally goes up until the end of the season. There's Sampdoria that cannot make it out of there. Cremonese looks like they have no hope either. But Verona, Spezia, Lecce, and Empoli, maybe I give a little bit of space to Salernitana, but those teams are going to be in this relegation battle till match day 38. No questions asked, unless someone really takes off with a string of wins.
And the other battle, the much more important one, 61, 60, 57, 57, 57, 55, going from second to seventh place. Hard blood pressure is going to be on for the remaining six games. And may I say, Steve, that's exactly the way we like it.
Yeah, if I'm a Calcio fan, that's the way I like it. If I'm a Milan, Roma, Inter, Atalanta fan, even Juventus fan, I'm having a little bit of problems digesting this till the end of the season, and I'm not gonna keep. I'm not gonna give Lazio a pass. I think Lazio was doing fantastic. They met Inter and really had a hard time with Inter, so they're not out of the woods too. This could change up until match day 38. And again, it's going to be interesting. Maybe next week we'll have who each team is playing, and also tiebreakers is very important. There's still an Inter Roma that needs to be played,
Yeah.
a Milan Lazio and a Milan Juve that needs to be played. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this weekend or the weekend after is Inter Juve.
This weekend you have, let me see here. Well, actually, you know what? We do have, thank you, Sunny, for these lovely slides. So looking at Inter, Juve on this one. No, there is no Inter Juve. The Coppa Italia final, Steve. You know what the date is on those? I'm not sure. I think it's maybe past. I think it's the end of May. I'm not sure, but this is what you guys got for the upcoming games of the Serie A teams. Guys, we do have a big week. Every team has a big week. 2 games playing every 3 days. Would it be this Wednesday, Cremonese, Saturday at 9 a.m. I will try to be at Chacharo's. Guys, let me know in the chat if you're going to be there, because if not, I'm going to watch from the comfort of my own home. And then on to May 10th. But as you like to say, we'll like to repeat, one game at a time, people. One game at a time. And that was your Serie A recap, brought to you by Fubo, the home of Serie A here in Canada. Steve, on that note, a couple of questions on Patreon. Husney,
Oh, President is gonna get so mad at your volume and your mic. You're
Why?
Gonzo. You're bad. You're sounding bad tonight.
I'm sounding bad. Am I
Yeah.
too far? I haven't misplaced it. He's gonna tell me. I'll wait for his feedback. But we have Huzzy going. If we make the finals, is anyone from NWP family going? And I wanted to take this question, Steve, and ask you about the outrage of people looking at the ticket prices at Champions League. Do you think it's just because we haven't been on this kind of stage in so long that we're not used to it? Because I'm looking at the prices, and it's always been these kind of prices that you hear rumors about, or it's like, I think these are normal prices, are they not?
They're not used to North American pricing. So if you're talking as a European calcio fan, they're probably going to find it expensive. As if you talk to Kumbare Frang or Derek from Toronto for tickets to the Maple Leafs or the Rangers in the playoffs, they're going to say that they're cheap. So again, it's 2 different business models. It's 2 different avenues. It's unfortunate it's not comparable. It's to each their own, right? If you could afford it and you're able to go, by all means, go ahead, buy it, and go. For someone coming from abroad like myself, that would be a steep couple of days.
Thanks, guys, for letting me know I was lagging. I have no idea why I'm on a wired connection, but it is what it is. But Husney, unless you're paying or you're pawning one of your Rolexes, I'm not sure we could afford to go. But one of the guys from Montreal Club, Steve, they said that at the beginning when they saw the Champions League game, the VIPs, which myself, my cousin Johnny, Angie, and David, there were 350 euros for the VIP ones, hospitality tickets, and he had seen some of them for 450. And I found that very reasonable, which gives you, like, a guaranteed ticket, Primanello, and some sort of buffet in the end. But I thought 450 was very reasonable, especially if you're coming from abroad, because you don't want to be there waiting. Am I going to get a ticket? Am I going to get a ticket?
Yeah.
Alex goes, good evening, gents. So 6 games left and 6 teams fighting for 3 spots in the top 4. I like where we are in I feel like we're in the twilight zone this season, and the top 4 race is one that everyone is not trying to win. The points being dropped by all these top teams is incredible. What do you guys think about this final stretch? He's not wrong, Steve. A lot of drop points. Even when we were dropping points, everybody else was dropping points, and I like the St. Lucia. Love it. In St. Lucia, I think it's the like Trinidad, the shark burgers. They got the shark and bake, good things over there. But he's not wrong, Steve. Like Twilight Zone, like nobody wants to stay in this top 4, and it just seems like everybody's running out of gas.
Those teams that are dropping points are involved in other competitions, and that's correlating with not being deep enough in regards to your squad to be able to compete on multiple fronts at the same time. Especially Inter, who's going to be in Scudetto, fourth place race, and Coppa Italia and Champions League. That's a lot of football to play, and they're by far the deepest of the other teams. Milan, unfortunately, not deep enough. Roma as well. Lazio, not really in any other competition. So they have the upper hand. But I agree. No one really wants to take the bull by the horn. So that's why we're going to go down to the wire again. And
We will.
we need that fourth place.
I love this is from Fujin Funyuns because Eduardo and Sofia go, did you guys see this commercial? E look at me, ma che è questo? Da dove viene? I go, Serie A is back. And they're looking at me like weird, like, but why did they make this commercial? And it was a great moment. Yes, but Calcio was back. Ryan Percy, Steve, with some great words. Hey guys, keep up the great work and the content here on the channel. I don't know if the fans say it enough, but us English speaking fans really appreciate it. And we appreciate you guys as much as you appreciate us. Can we talk about the construction of the squad for a second? There's been little contribution, if any, from the new players that we purchased in the summer, and that is alarming. Other than the Chow and maybe Pobega, no one has contributed anything over the course of the season, and it is the same players from last season pulling the weight. I guess, should we be impressed that Pioli has been able to do so much with so little? The squad is objectively weaker, and I think our result, barring the Champions League, showed us. I think that's very well said, Steve. And, a lot of some people like to trash Pioli, but the way he worded it, the people that we got in the summer just didn't perform, and it just seems that is that one of the reasons that the guys from last year, when they needed the younger guys or the new guys to pull their own weight, it just didn't happen, and maybe that's one of the reasons where we went through that dip in the position that we are right now.
Again, it's not a regular season. World Cup smack in the middle. Everything rushed. A lot of man games for a lot of these guys. I can't say yes or no.
Maybe one of the reasons, not
maybe one of
completely.
the reasons, but I'd like to give it one more year. I don't know if we'll have the patience with the Adleys or the Vortex. Obviously, Serginho Dest seems like it's not an option anymore, so he's gone. But I would give the Pobegas a chance. I think he's slotted in quite nicely. Yes, he's part of the whole rotation team, but it's not his choosing to rotate 10 players when we need the points. Those are the ones that I do give Pioli a little bit of a hard time with. But what he's done with this team, it is almost a miracle, because we finally found someone who can play half decent minutes on the right, and it's Brahim Diaz, which we've had for a long time, right? So he's finding some solutions. Now he's got to find.
He's making the best of what we just got.
He's got to find a way to integrate at least CDK, because the talent is there. He just has to find the fire.
I'm going to ask you this question before we move on to Busted Culture tweet, Steve. If we finish top 4, make it to the finals of the Champions League, would you consider that a success of a season? Making top 4 and reaching the finals?
Again.
No, I'm just asking you like a general because I have a follow-up to that.
For me,
for you,
if you don't win anything, I think, it's funny that you asked that question, because they asked Giannis the same question after the Bucks got beat in the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Was your season a failure? I don't think it's a failure, but the goal for these teams is to win something. Now, to make it to the final and lose, to get kicked out in the first round, I have a little bit of a problem with that. But for me, and the way Serie A is built and the way soccer is built, it's much different than North American sports. There's a regular season and that's it. So your goal in the regular season is to win the championship, to finish the top. If the Boston Bruins, and this is not a dig at Strupa, but if the Boston Bruins were in the Serie A, they would have won the Scudetto. They would have finished first. They were President's Trophy winners, and they would have won. There was to be another little notch on their belt, and they would have won. But North American sports, basketball, football, hockey, baseball, they have all postseason, which is another season within a season.
So let me ask you this. Somehow, some way, in a dream world, we win the Champions League. We finished fourth. Which coach becomes available to you? Just your personal opinion that you're like, I can't give up this chance. Even though Pioli accomplished this, I need to remove for this guy. Would there be one coach out there? Because that's the question that keeps on.
No, guys, where are you getting these questions from?
No, I'm asking you personally. Like
but
club.
you win the Champions League.
We had a guy reaching the semifinals in the Champions League. They got rid of him.
The
After
semifinals is not good enough for Milan. This is not good enough for us. Fourth place is not good enough for us.
So there would be no coach like a Jurgen Klopp coming up and he says he's available. You wouldn't let go, like even he had a successful season.
There's no reason to. You just won the Champions League. That's what it is in European soccer. That's what it is. It's what have you done for me lately? The guy what you have to be worried about.
Yeah,
is who's gonna come and get Pioli. Then you have to find someone to replace him. That's the question. Not if you're gonna change. No, you can't change. The guy just won you the Champions League. But these things are just like, again, is it possible? Of course it's possible. Is it likely? Not really. Not really. I'll be very honest with you. The same thing like the Scudetto. I'll see it when I believe it. And it will be another modern day miracle. If we win the Champions League with this team, it is. It's a modern day miracle. First of all, Francis will never become a Patreon member again.
There's going to be so much hate.
He will never watch soccer again. The world will erupt. I mean, imagine if that happens, we overshadow the first Scudetto for the Neapolitans in 33 years, guys.
Steve.
They still won't even have all the attention.
Can I sum this up? The anti-Milanistas will hate us so fucking much. And you know what? We're gonna love it so fucking much, just getting all that too. Yeah, we won a Champions League final with this kind of team. You should be embarrassed, and luck at the draw. We shall see what it is, because it is one game. On that note, Steve, are we ready to at least finish off with a few laughs? Shall we?
Let's go.
Let's go with a few laughs. So, Jan giving us this week's, what does he have for us this week? Let's see if there's a lot of busted ones. At Wayne in Rome, Gianluca Mancini epitomizes Roma. Casual fans and media outlets throw shade, but they'll never understand the fraternity. You want a Mancini on your side and never against. You'd kill to have these fans for you and never having to play in front of them. Okay, so he's just putting Mancini on a pedestal? I'm trying to understand what he's trying to say here.
I have no idea. I think he's one of those types of players. Again, he's not my cup of tea. I think he's a little overrated.
He likes to push buttons.
Yeah, he likes to push
like
buttons.
Like
we
Theo.
have our own. We have our own. So I don't know where we go. That's why it's nice to have Jan on, because he explains these things and what's going on in his head. But for me, this one is he's trying to put him on a pedestal. It's in his opinion, he can. For me, no. I think there's other backs, the center backs, that are much better than him. But again, this is a Roma fan talking like a Milan fan would about a player that's on his team.
Slide number 2, we have statistically speaking and visually for most, Milinkovic-Savic has been one of Lazio's worst performers in the last 2 matches against Torino and Inter. It says a lot about his mentality, considering 2 wins would have clinched a Champions League spot. Extremely disappointed, and the reply, he's just not as good as Lazio fans make him to be. He's a 30 million player at best, not 120 like I keep seeing. His basics of football are immature and despondent. So this guy, Steve, has watched Serie A for a total of 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of SMS. I think we've mentioned several times that he's probably the best midfielder in the Serie A, but Jamie seems to know SMS a lot better than we do, Steve.
Yeah, he obviously has not watched Calcio for very long. SMS is the best midfielder in Serie A. He will go for quite a bit of money over the summer if Lazio decide to sell him with 1 year left, if I believe on his contract. He is, Jamie, by far not a $30 million player.
Not 120 either, but
Not
not
120
30.
either. Yes, to be fair, not 120 either. But you have to be able to take not just a sample size, not just what you want to see to construct and deliver your opinion. You have to take everything. Do I hate Inter? Absolutely yes. Do I think that they're somewhat overrated sometimes? Yes. But I have to take the complete season and what they've done. Have they had a spectacular season? No. But they play in in spurts where they're really, really good
And they
really
win when it
hard to beat.
matters. And
Yeah.
they win when it matters. When
And
they
really hard
lost,
to
when
beat.
everybody else lost points, right?
And same thing with the Milan. With Milan, are we really hard on Milan? Yes, it's because we really like and we really want to see Milan succeed the way we were used to seeing Milan succeed. That
And
is unfortunately dreaming in Technicolor because it will not happen unless the league becomes more successful.
And I'm rereading Stephen Moore's, and I think we did have him as a guest, Steve, back in the day. And he did say, statistically speaking,
Yeah.
statistically, he's been one of the worst against Inter and Torino. They're not safe for the rest of the season. And he's disappointed because, 2 wins would have clinched that Champions League spot. So some people like to comment on some stuff and not read. What do we have under busted tweet number 3? Maldini only play in Serie A. Never been in EPL. Most harder league in the world.
Farenza Army.
Let me reread it for you, Steve, just in case. LOL. Maldini only play in Serie A. Never been in EPL. Most harder. Not the hard. Most harder. Yes. League in the world. So, Steve, I would like to remind Fereza that Maldini retired from national duties in 2002. Italy won the World Cup in 2006, and in the year 2009, in his last season, he was marking Messi when they were playing Barcelona like he was 20 years old. So don't come out with your EPL is the most harder, Steve. He's the most harder of the EPL, but these are probably FIFA players that have never seen Maldini play. This one so far, is the winner, Steve. Things are
this is the winner. Obviously, someone who has never and not watched Calcio for very long. When Maldini was playing, Serie A was at its glory. Toughest teams. Just today with Carmelo from Evangelista and those guys and gals there at the store talking old-time Calcio and how we started to like Calcio and thinking, of the players we were able to see in that generation of Serie A. We're going to have a hard time seeing it again if things don't change in Serie A.
Exactly. So far, we do have a winner chicken dinner. Around Turin, the number of TV viewers for Serie A is in a nosedive. Last match day was seen by 4.9 million viewers. The same match day of the Serie A 21-22 was followed by 7.7 million viewers. In Rig the Rock's graph, the average of the last months, the many cancellations made by Juventus fans are clearly visible. Around Turin, if you think that you lost year after year over 3 million viewers because Juventus fan canceled their subscription after the 15 points debacle, I want what you're smoking. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Steve, you're the first person that talks about Serie A TV rights. We have people from around the world telling us, "Oh, we're discovering today the start of Serie A when we're getting the TV, right? When we're going to be able to watch." They live in their own world.
Yeah, this is and it's going to be crazy because if we go by what Around Turin is thinking, his mindset, that means Dazen is going to be coming into a shit ton of money soon. They got back their 15 points. We're going to have 3 million plus people resubscribe, right? So,
okay.
these are things I don't know where people conjure up or get this information.
Steve,
I
when did they get their
seriously
15
doubt.
points? Before January, correct? I believe they got there before the four guys they stepped down in the middle of the December break. So if they gave the 15 points at that time, how do you explain from January to February they're about 6 million to? So they decided 2 months later to unsubscribe.
I don't know. It isn't. These are guys that just don't think of economics. Could it be it's a bit too expensive for some people? Could it be that people are not interested in anymore? The Scudetto is a bit out of hand. That might be no.
The
Because of
ZN did
It's
change, right,
Juventus
Steve?
money.
The ZN did change in Italy. I remember some of our friends were
They
telling
went
us
to
is
pay-per-view.
pay-per-view where you can't share, you can't like you can only watch one game at a time or something like that. Even
I think
Amazon Prime.
everything is pay-per-view now.
I know that Eduardo and Sophie were saying is that they have to pay for Sky Sports, they have to pay for the Zone, they have to pay, so it's a lot more expensive. So, but hey, if the Juventus fans come back, Steve, we're gonna get back on the winning ways.
Yeah.
Pretty busted on this one. Steve, you put this one up, and I was reading it, and I was trying to figure it out. So, best calcio player in a tournament: Buffon over Donnarumma, Buffon over Cannavaro, Nesta, Pirlo over Nesta. This one really Baggio over Balotelli, but Pirlo better than Baggio. Totti better than Insigne, Maldini over Gattuso, Totti beating out Maldini, Del Piero beating off Baresi for a final of Buffon versus Del Piero. Tell me you're a Juventino without telling me you're a Juventino, and Buffon as the winner as the best calcio players. Now, people from Toronto, I love you. This is a page from Toronto. These are manja cakes. These are manja cakes. Steve, I couldn't believe my eyes when you sent this. How does I'm sure the Baggio one really hit you too hard. How do you put Pirlo over Baggio?
Look, I don't know how they come up with these lists, but there's multiple people missing. And again, I don't want to be a Milanese homer, but these types of lists are so complicated to come up with. But I can tell you, as much as I would not have my Milan glasses on for this, I would not have a final of Buffon and Del Piero for best calcio player ever.
And it reminds me, we did say it maybe a few months ago when we were talking about Juventinis at the bar, and you're talking about Del Piero, and the Nazionale came up, and I got mad, and I looked at the Juventino, I'm like, please tell me, other than in 2000, what did Del Piero do for La Nazionale? And then he's there, and I go, please explain to me, because he was the biggest disappointment in Nazionale, and he's there, and everybody around him is like, state zitto perché non ha fatto niente Del Piero nella Nazionale. But here he is in the finals.
He cost us €1. That's what he did.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So we do have a lot of. Okay, Steve. There's this one. There's the SN losing 4 million viewers because of the Juventinis, and the harder league in the world. I don't know, Steve. This one's. Tell us what you think in the comments, guys. Fuck, this one, you know what? It could be considered busted, but it could be like somebody's, Frank is saying that maybe I thought it was from Toronto, might be from Brooklyn because they called tomato sauce gravy, so they could be American.
Maybe.
But this one,
I think it has to be either around Turin or the best calcio player, because I think Faraz Army, I'm hoping that he's not a real person.
Maybe he's
I'm
talking
also
about
hoping that he's trolling, and I would want to give it to actually a good account. But again, people, you see
everybody's.
You gotta tell us in the
Maybe he's talking about Maldini Jr. Who knows?
Maybe Daniele Maldini, but it seems look Nick Maldini winner, Fuji's and Funyan.
Fres is too busted.
Yeah.
Even I think the LOL. So the comments have spoken. Steve, I'm gonna go with. I love this one here because it starts off very professional, stats, numbers, and then in the end you just close it off by The Juventini's canceling their subscription is the reason for. I'm gonna have to, because this one could be somebody's perception, so that's fine. My vote. I gotta go with this one. A lot of people going with the Maldini, and the market said it's getting. How did he put it with the Inter blunder from last week? It's getting hotter.
Yeah.
It's getting hotter. But Steve, you're gonna go with Maldini or this one?
I think I'm going to follow everybody and go with Maldini, and then we need to find out if Perez is a real person.
Hopefully,
Jan
Jan
is
says
on that.
he
Jan,
might be
action
here
item.
next week. He might be here
Action
next
item
week.
for Jan: find out if Perez is a real person.
It's hotting up. Yes, Mark, thank you very much. It is hotting up in here at the Milan Weekly Podcast. And on that note, we might have Jan next week to give us some sort of explanation of how he scounders the internet and finds these beautiful tweets. But Steve, we got to look forward to this week. But before we look to Saturday, we got to look to Wednesday. Don't give me no bullshit that it's an easy game. We're playing away from home. This is one of the rare times in the season you play 2 games away from home on Saturday. Lazio, Saturday, 9 a.m. Let's start off with Cremonese, shall we, Steve?
Cremonese first. Let's go. Let's get the 3 points. Let's maybe try to create a little bit of distance and then navigate the other games, 1 game at a time. Unfortunately, sad to say, but top 4 is our Scudetto right now.
Exactly, it is. And guys, stay tuned. Milan Coast to Coast with Gio and Fabio coming over this week. Huge thank you again to Sunny. Thanks for being in a regular time zone for us to actually talk and get us all this art. Thank you very much, Sunny. Keep up the great work. And on that note, ovunque e sempre.
Forza Milan!
Have yourself a good night, guys.
Vincerai, non ti lascio.